talked about NXT Vengeance Day earlier in the episode and how much I enjoyed watching NXT Vengeance Day, and she was a big part of that. She was in the Fatal 4-Way main event with Julia, with Bayley, and with Cora Jade, and really everything came back to her. All roads led back to Roxanne Perez in that matchup. Bayley was in that matchup, who had just finished a feud one-on-one with Roxanne Perez. Obviously, Julia, the NXT Women's Champion, took the title off of Roxanne Perez, and Cora Jade, the supposed best friend of Roxanne Perez, weaseled her way into the matchup and had several moments where she and Roxanne took turns turning on each other. So I thought that was a tremendous showcase for all four women involved, but specifically for Roxanne, who to me felt like the glue that bonded and binded that entire match together. I think it's part of what has been a very good 2025, a very good, I guess it's only been 6-7 weeks of 2025 for Roxanne Perez. I think she's the breakout performer of 2025 so far. I love the feud with Bayley. I love the fact that they trusted her to show hop, not just at NXT, but show up on Raw, show up on Smackdown. And then you see what happens at Royal Rumble. And this is where I look at this and say, WWE is really pushing Roxanne Perez really quickly here. Since the turn of the new year, Roxanne has been kind of put in a position to where everybody expects her to be called up post-Mania, and everybody expects her to be a key piece on whatever show she ends up going to. And why is that? Well, you look at the Royal Rumble. She was entrant number 3, sets a new Iron Women record, which everybody and their mother has talked about to this point. Not only that, but makes the final 3 and is eliminated by Charlotte Flair. She got to the point where there were people actually questioning, are they going to let an NXT call-up win the Royal Rumble? Now, of course, that would never happen, especially when Charlotte Flair is in there in her return, and especially when everybody knew they were going to set up Charlotte versus Tiffany. But an impressive showing, and a showing that tells you WWE has big plans for Roxanne Perez. And now, as of this Monday, she's going to enter the Elimination Chamber, beating Raquel Rodriguez on Raw, beating her clean. I know there was a distraction with Bianca Belair and Naomi, but beating her clean down for the 1-2-3, hit her with the Pop Rocks, got to get her moves in, beats Raquel Rodriguez, and now for back-to-back PLEs is going to be featured in the premier women's match. If you think it's familiar, if it sounds familiar, it's because it should be. Because just about a year ago, this was the exact path that Tiffany Stratton took early in 2024. Enters the Royal Rumble, gets a long time in the Rumble, gets established in the Rumble, and is eliminated towards the end of the Women's Rumble, gets into the Elimination Chamber. Now, Tiffany Stratton did not participate in WrestleMania, and I would not be surprised if Roxanne doesn't participate in WrestleMania, but instead gets called up either on the Raw after Mania for her official call-up or the SmackDown after Mania, depending on when and where they end up wanting to put her. But it's the exact same path as Tiffany Stratton. And now, Tiffany Stratton is a world champion. So that begs the question, if Roxanne's on the same path, what's to say she's not going to be a world champion by the end of 2025? I wouldn't rule it out. She has the in-ring ability. She's proven herself against a main roster star in Bayley and in a feud that has crossed all different shows. And she's been a champion everywhere she's been. Even before she came to WWE. Shoot, she was a champion of a company when she was, 16? She was champion in TNA, I believe, when she was 18. She's been a champion everywhere she's been. I guess that's why they call her the Prodigy, correct? It feels like there is a chance. I'm not saying it's guaranteed because we have to see how these storylines play out, especially going into Mania. Is Charlotte the champ? If she's the champ, I don't see her dropping that title quickly. If Tiffany's still the champ, you probably would like to see her continue to hold on to it. Looking at Raw, I'm not exactly sure who's going to dethrone Rhea Ripley, but it feels like that might be coming sooner rather than later. And if that happens, are you really going to let that champion who took down Rhea Ripley give up the title quickly? Probably not. But it feels like the trajectory that Roxanne Perez is on is going to lead her to being a world champion. Certainly, at some point, it feels like she is destined to be a world champion. But considering the path that she's taken already, it feels like that might happen sooner rather than later. Now, what I would prefer, although I'd like to see her as world champion, I think she'd be great. I would love to see her come in, establish herself on the main roster, and then elevate one of these new mid-card titles. I think that is exactly what those mid-card titles were introduced to do. It's to give people more opportunity. Well, somebody like Roxanne Perez, if you bring her up and you send her against Tiffany Stratton and you have her lose to Tiffany Stratton, that could kill the momentum. If you bring her up and you put her in a feud with Chelsea Green, you put her in a feud with, I don't know, Lyra Valkyria, nice NXT rematch there. I think that is a great path to give Roxanne coming out of WrestleMania, is that she either gets into a feud or immediately starts going after one of these mid-card titles. Would you not like to see her hold the United States title for months on end, leading into maybe SummerSlam, leading into maybe Survivor Series? And then if she does well with that, you could be looking at her potentially being a candidate to win the Royal Rumble in 2026. I think that would be perfect for Roxanne Perez. And I think that would also be perfect for these new underdeveloped mid-card titles in the WWE women's division. But at the same time, like I said, I couldn't rule out her potentially being in the main event scene for the women's division, whether that be on Raw or SmackDown in 2025. Either way, it feels like she has a rocket ship strapped to her back. It seems like she is destined to be on the main roster in the next month or so, 2 months or so, whenever Mania is, I believe in 2 months. And it feels like the sky is the limit once she gets there, because she has killed it in NXT. She was the flag bearer for that women's division, a division that I look at as the best women's division in all of professional wrestling right now. And I think when she moves up, she's going to be perfectly placed to, whether it's carry a mid-card title to heights it hasn't seen yet, or become a world champion and lead a division on one of Raw or SmackDown. I'm excited to see what she does, because she's been very, very interesting and very, very entertaining for her entire career at WWE.